Hey, welcome to Hear Us Out. I'm Paul,
And I'm Patrick.
and we're going to be talking about our top picks for Halloween. We have seven movies here chosen because we've got 7 days until Halloween, so you can watch one movie a day.
Or have a really long Halloween and watch all seven on Halloween and freak yourself out. Possibly never sleep again. But Paul, I love the seven that you've chosen. I haven't seen them all, but the
Mhm.
ones that I have seen, I love it because it's a nice spread. So there's something in here for everybody. If you're a hardcore horror, if you're a little bit like me and you hide behind the couch at the first sign of a jump scare, there's something in here for everybody.
Yeah, so where does this came from? Which is I've been watching a movie a day, practically a horror movie a day for Halloween. Let me just tell you, it really grains on the psyche. It's very hard to watch that many horror movies in a row. So
And honestly, man, the thing I love about this, the good part of all this, it's these are they're newer horrors, so they're only from the last couple of years.
yeah,
There's a lot of stuff here that I think, and we'll talk about it as we go through. There's a lot of stuff here that's been overlooked, or uh, we talked about it recently. Link up above eventually. We're in a golden time of modern horror. People are making lots and lots. There's been a lot to see, even for like hardcore horror fans. That's why you've taken the psychologically difficult route of watching one horror a day for the whole month.
yeah. So literally, tried to choose horror movies literally from from 2023 to 2024. I've included some older ones as well. Salem's Lot, was also part of that, the 1979 one. Link for the video above. Um, I did. So I saw Bruce said Paul will need a Pixar phase soon. I did watch Wild Robot. Cried throughout the entire thing. That was a fun watch compared to a lot of the other things I've been watching. So there's some on this list, or some on my list that I have watched or that I haven't watched that I think I probably will recommend, but we'll talk about that in the socials. Let's jump right into it to our first choice, which
Go
is we're
for it.
going to choose Abigail, which is mostly because it's not only a fantastic film, it's also which is our thumbnail. So
Yeah.
which is not to bury the lead. So Abigail, we're gonna go through essentially just a plot summary, then we're gonna go through reasons why we chose this, and then scare factor, just so that viewers can know if they should or should avoid these kind of ones. Abigail, it is about a group of people who kidnap a small child, and that small child may not be as innocent as they may have first assumed. Um, so
The
that's
trailer
that.
gives it away, Paul, so I think it's okay to say it. But yeah, Abigail is one that I'm wholeheartedly recommending. So we're starting at the bottom here, folks. Paul's the super scare man. I'm the wimp of the group. That's why, Paul runs the horror half of this particular show. I run the car half. Um, this one is for everybody. If you can watch the trailer and have a laugh, you can watch the movie and have a laugh too.
That's it. Yeah. So, which is the scare level is very minimum. There is a little bit of gore, but I would say in the sense of just blood, kind of
Mm.
things, just to kind of give you a little bit of warning on that factor, kind of thing. But the reason we chose it is because of just the fantastic spread of cast members. This is a very small, tight group of cast members that are in it. All of them are fantastic. The way that the plot builds is very, very fascinating, very, very interesting. There is a lot more going on to this group and to the child. So it is funny as well. I will say that there's a sense of humor to it as well, which
Yeah.
is just fantastic. Which is you can't beat a little bit of humor on top of which is the horror fascinate or the horror fantasy. This also follows off a little bit of a theme today as well, for the last two videos, I guess. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
actually.
but let's say it's a very good kind of interactive film.
Well, look, Paul, just to get it in because we are dancing around something that people can see in the trailer, and I think we will leave it to everybody's imagination. So this is just to say there's going to be a spoiler-free video. So don't worry that we're going to talk about a movie that you haven't seen yet and spoil the ending or something crucial to the plot.
Yeah.
But I just want to call out Paul because I never gave you my Abigail notes,
Yes.
and my notes quite literally says trailers give it away, but there's still a mystery,
Yeah.
which I really like. So if you've watched the trailer and you think, oh well, I know what happens, they still managed to build in a layer of intrigue and mystery on top of the reveal that they make in the trailer, which is great. The next note I have is literally the same word three times: fun, fun, fun.
Yeah.
Which, as a non-horror guy, that's saying a lot. Um, and I have, uh, plot holes aplenty and all that kind of stuff, but it's not. It's one of those. Yeah, I think this is, as Brian says in the chat, casual horror fans, and I think, as you're attesting to it, full-time horror fans can really get a kick out of how and who made this, because the cast carries a huge amount of charm through the whole thing. Particularly the two leads, although there's leads all over the place in this.
Yes, Alicia Weir, who plays Abigail, and Melissa Barrera, who plays Joey. Those two main cast members are very, very good. They're kind of the staple within the group.
Mm.
Obviously, Alicia Weir plays Abigail, the named character, but the rest of the cast is actually really, really filled out with like Dan Stevens, which is Kevin Durand, which is
My favorite, by the way, just to get it out there. Every time we talk about any movie that he's in, all the way back to like Smoking Aces and everything, I love that man.
he's fantastic in a few films, but he really sold it to me in The Strain, which is a Del Toro show and book that he co-wrote with a friend. Fantastic. And also a new actor who's definitely becoming more and more one of my favorites is Catherine Newton. She is
Ah,
great in that film as well, but she is definitely growing on me on a lot of things. But yeah, not to bury the lead or anything, or not to bury the kind of secret, because it is kind of portrayed in the trailer. Um, Abigail's a vampire, but Abigail, Alicia Weir, who is, as this is the name character, is phenomenal at carrying that end of the entire movie. Keep your eye on this actor; like
yeah.
they are going to go very, very far. So
For somebody so young to, because it's not just the viciousness to the child, etc., that back and forth. For somebody so young to convincingly play somebody so old, there was just, she only had a few scenes where she really had to nail the I'm actually quite old. Absolutely nailed it. I was really, really impressed, actually. Really impressed. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing where her career goes.
yeah, so it's a fantastic choice. So moving on now to our next choice, which is The First Omen. Not to be mistaken by the original Omen, because believe me, I've had this conversation a lot. The First Omen is a 2024 release of a prequel to the movies.
Thank you. So when you say First Omen, you don't mean the First Omen film from way back in the 70s. You
Yeah,
mean a film from 2024 that's literally called The First Omen. Unbelievably confusing to have this as a conversation with people. I've been in this, and you're like, "Oh, you've seen The First Omen?" Yeah, no, I saw that when I was a kid. No, the one that came out now. So, yeah.
yeah, it is. It is a bad choice. It's a bad choice. It's nearly as bad as our hatred of numbers in the thing. It's just like The First Omen 3, which is yeah. So The First Omen is a great prequel movie. We are iffy on prequels, I would say that at least.
Yeah.
But this is
This is gets a complete pass from me, Paulo. Usually I'm the big prequel hater. It made sense to have this as a prequel.
yes, exactly. So the um the thing with this prequel is that it is kind of more standalone. It follows a very
Yeah.
minimal trend kind of thing. But let's kind of roll into the plot, which is the plot is essentially um, Father Brennan is investigating some kind of secret. This is the subplot of it. While what's this? Margaret is a an advocate, I think it's called, which is essentially a nun in training. She hasn't taken her vows, but she's been brought up in the church, and is now moving to Italy to join one of the convents to eventually take her vows. Um, and that's probably the most normal part of this entire movie. Um,
Yeah, it is there. You know what? You can't get. You're going to give away too much if you say too much. But essentially, this is a nun, or a young woman about to become a full-fledged nun. She's moved to Italy as part of all this. She's in a young girl's home as the Catholic Church used to do. Still have issues, so many issues with the clergy, Paul, that I will keep out of my review here. Um, but creepiness ensues, and I think the important thing is this is one of the longer films on the list. I think as far as runtime goes,
Yes.
and it deserves it. You know, when people say, and it's, don't get me wrong, this is not 3 hours. This is still like it's an hour and 55 or whatever, an hour and 50. It deserves its runtime because it builds an air and does more in its runtime than you might think while it's happening. But as soon as the movie ends, you're kind of like, yeah, oh, I've been through some stuff there. You know, things have happened in my day. Um,
Yeah, so the reason I chose it was the very similarities. It nailed the overall vibe of the Omen kind of series, which was a
mm,
fantastic kind of feel to it. It had some homages back to the original movie, which is also great kind of thing. But yeah, it doesn't in any way let up. I think the original Omen, it might have a little bit of datedness to it. But this updates it a little bit more and has a lot more kind of impactful, tentful scares from a psychological point of view, and from kind of like the traditional jump scares are kind of like weird scenes kind of thing.
yeah. Can I
So
actually ask you just one thing, and you can tell me if you agree with this or not? But from my perspective, just for everybody out there, you do not need to have seen any Omen film, the original or any of the other omens. You don't need to. Like this is unaffected by not knowing anything about the Omen franchise. Like there's small little things that you won't feel the impact of, but you won't miss the impact of them either as part of this story, I don't think. It does work standalone. But what you were mentioning there, Paul, about how it's made, like the director, this is a female director who I think this is her first feature, and she is instantly on my list of right. I'm watching where her career goes because to pull everybody together to get the performances and get the shots and the use of black negative space to and the reason I interrupted you is because you just mentioned jump scares. And I want everybody out there to know this is not a jump scare horror. There were a few in there, but they're naturally there.
yeah,
It's not a body horror movie either, but there is some
yeah,
stuff there. It's a lot of different horror genres at different times, but seamlessly woven together. And I was very, very impressed by that. That's a skill and a half. So this will not be the last hit from this director, even though the marketing team completely screwed this film by the looks of it. Because I look back to why didn't everybody catch this? It was another one of those terribly marketed. We always say a film's terrible if they're only given lifting embargo on the day of release. Well, they did that, and
yeah.
everybody I think assumed this was going to be crap, but it wasn't. It was great.
Yeah, there was some choices in the marketing that kind of made it bad, because it does have an uphill battle simply because it is part of the Omen franchise, but because it's such a standalone kind of movie, it does seem like a bit weird that there wasn't a little bit more intrigue to it. But we have had in the past entries into franchises like this that are being absolute standouts. The Exorcist has a couple that have been great
Yeah.
standout kind of ones, but just not marketed well for kind of a wider audience. I do think that this one is not for everybody,
No,
kind of
this
thing.
is scarier.
I do
I'll
think
just
that,
call it as that.
yeah, I do think people should give it a go, but I definitely
Mhm.
understand if they want to kind of abandon it. The director is Akasha Stevenson. Um,
Mhm.
Fantastic. I can't wait to see more from them. And yes, which is Neo Tiger Free is a fantastic lead, kind of thing. Um, Very strong, very kind of shows a lot of emotion, which is of confliction about what she's going to do, by taking her vows and everything, while also kind of going through, I guess, the main plot of this movie. Um, so.
I'll be honest, Paul, and I know we got to move on from it, but without the lead actress, and Nell Tiger Free, without her performance, this film would have fallen apart too. There are a few times where she has to do things to convince you of what's happening that if she doesn't nail them, this would seem cheesy or you would have broken the tension that they'd been building up for an hour and a half at that point. Like thumbs up. There's a through line to the movies we've talked about so far, and will into some of the others. This is filmmaking. This is not horror filmmaking. This is proper filmmaking, proper performances. If this wasn't a horror list, these would be films we'd be recommending anyway.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So these are a lot of these films. There's some on the list that are specifically horror related more, than kind of just being downright good movies being made. So, but this is one of the good movies being made kind of thing. So it's got a lot going for it. But yeah, we'll move on. Which is I do want to say the Ralph Ennison, who plays Father Brennan, has become also his voice is one of the most epic voices. I first saw him in Chernobyl, and now seen him in this, and I just can't wait to see more of that, or hear more of that voice. Let's just say,
yeah, he's been around a while, but his voice, yeah, he's got one of the voices. He's like a more English Irish Sam Neill that we'll be talking, not Sam Neill, Sam Elliott, that we'll be talking about in 30 years.
Indeed, yeah. So I can't wait to see more. Okay, we'll move on. Which is I'm going to move on to one that's a remake. Which is Speak No Evil. This is the 2024 remake of a Dutch movie of the same name from 2022. I do always find it very suspicious when they do a remake quite quickly after the original, I guess. I always feel that this is more kind of the. I haven't seen the original one yet, and I do recommend seeing that one first, kind of thing. But I was intrigued by James McAvoy. James McAvoy's in this film, and ever since Split, he has fascinated me when he's in any kind of horror, kind of thriller, kind of role. So yeah, so this
funny,
is
funny you should mention Split, because this is one of the ones that I haven't got to see yet. But from the trailer, and again, if it's in the trailer, it's not considered a spoiler, folks. But he's definitely playing somebody who is, let's say, has a Jekyll and Hyde personality type thing going on.
Yeah, so the plot is that this family goes away on holiday. They meet this other family, and then they get on really well on the holiday. And when they're back at their respective homes, they are invited to come visit the family. The James McAvoy family invites the other family over, and insanity ensues. Is probably the best way
Yeah,
to describe it.
the trailer telegraphs that. And I guess my question, Paul, is this on the list because of how well insanity ensues, or is it the overall build and then payoff? What's kind of worked best about this one?
The tension that they build in this can only portray how well the tension is built in the original one. It is consistently watching it, while constantly and slowly increasing the grip of the armchair armrest, while you're kind of going, something is wrong here.
Yeah, okay.
It's the slow building of the tension that is fantastic. It's absolutely amazing how well they build and build and build tension, kind of thing. Like, yeah, it's a very kind of unsettling vibe to this movie, kind of
With
thing.
obviously a third act that I'm assuming gets quite intense in a less subtle way. I'm going to go ahead and assume.
Yes, once the break happens, then yeah, it kind of all chaos breaks loose. But
Right.
me and my partner were watching this, and we were both screaming at the families to try and get them to move and stuff.
I love that. I love that.
Mackenzie Davis, who plays the mother of the victim family, I guess would probably be the best thing, is fantastic in this. I've loved her from Blade Runner to Martian, which is it's fantastic to see her further in it. She portrays a very kind of complex character. My only kind of issue with my only issue is with that family is Scott McNairy's, and I don't know if it's a choice or anything, plays a very stereotypical horror father.
Oh,
which is the
okay.
only downside to this movie. Everybody else is
Right.
so he plays very well. He's a very good actor as well. Everybody in it is very well portrayed and everything. It's just that the choices that the character makes seems very kind of we have to follow this path, kind of thing. But otherwise,
Right.
the tension it builds is fantastic. Scare meter, it's not that scary. The tension, if you can't handle tension in a movie, then I don't know if you'll be able to do this one. But it's very good. The
It's thriller
original,
horror.
hmm?
Thriller horror then?
Yeah,
Okay.
it still could be watched by everybody. There's no particular kind of over the top kind of horror moments, I guess, jump scares or kind of a lot of gore or anything like that. But I have heard that the original one is a little bit more intense. So and I do recommend to watch the original one always first. So you should probably watch the
Well,
original one.
Brian is in the chat saying Speak No Evil was decent, but still much preferred the original. It left me stunned. The remake didn't do that. Which, look, way back, Let the Right One In. It's to this day maybe my favorite horror experience in the cinema. I had to go to a tiny cinema in Dublin to see the original, Scandinavian actual language version, and then they had an American remake a few years later. It's one of those things. I like the idea that you can watch both. Like you already said, Paul, maybe if possible, watch the original first and then watch this. It's, it's great when something's good enough that it can have two good versions of it.
Yeah, yeah, like it's a good it's a good strong script that it was thought of to be able to be brought to essentially I guess a more to a wider audience I guess is
To the
probably
English speaking audience, yeah,
yeah
to the big market of America.
yeah I
Um,
get yeah I hate
and
so
yeah, no, what? Yeah, you were going to say you don't like the idea of it being,
it's too soon to be remade.
yeah,
I love James
yeah,
McAvoy and I love everybody in it, and it is there is a reason on this. Its reason on the list is twofold. I want everybody to go see the original one, and also this is a fantastic. This is also a very good movie as well. So, what's just yeah, I did want to say that the original one is mostly in English. The
Oh, okay.
problem is that it is a Dutch made film, so technically it is an international film, and it is still a weird bound or barrier towards a wider audience kind of thing.
It's also a barrier towards certain people making money, which is the
Yes.
real horror this Halloween. It's always the business people. But just two real quick things because I think we're going to move into the next one, Paul. Brian says, I really enjoyed Split until it kind of fell apart for me.
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan is what we call that. Very enjoyable until it's not. And I just like to say, James McAvoy, I hope he does a few movies where he's not a rage monster because he is rapidly heading towards late career typecasting.
Yeah.
He better be careful. So, James, do something where you fall in love with Keira Knightley or whatever,
Yeah. Let's see a little bit more,
or something better.
you know. But yeah, so we're gonna go on to one other which has hit a lot of charts and stuff like that. Long legs. Um
Ooh.
Long legs, so the plot is which is you follow a rookie FBI agent on the tail of a serial killer. That is as far as we're going to allow you to get anything. Um, the reason this is on the list is that it is a very good homage to some of the earlier kind of serial killer movies. It very particular has a vibe to it, which is really really good and continuous. Everybody in it is very very good, and there are several unsettling unsettling scenes in this movie. So I would say that this is not um it is not a film for everybody. It's not a film for the casual kind of horror fan, I guess, would be
Okay.
one of the things I would say. It's
Well, since it's one of the ones that I haven't seen, can I just ask you a couple of real quick questions then to get a flavor from the
yes.
outside? I'll be the audience for a second because my notes here are only based on it was a huge financial success. It took off. It gained notoriety. I've only seen trailers. I have not seen the movie. I know Nick Cage is in it.
Yes.
Which Nick Cage did we get? Did we get the good Nick Cage?
We got good you say like that he does well in it.
Yeah.
He's really good at it.
Like he's always nuts, man.
Yeah,
I'm not worried. But
he's
this
nuts,
is
but
this
he's
is one
good.
of the we'll put it in the good pile, not the bad pile.
Yeah.
His efforts. Okay.
This is not Ghost Rider Nick Cage. This is like I don't even know.
Raising Arizona,
Renfield?
Nick Cage.
Renfield Nick Cage?
Okay, which I haven't actually seen yet.
I'll use another horror
Um,
movie to explain this horror movie. He's very good at it.
but and I know, and even from your brief description, it's got the Silence of the Lambsy kind of Zodiac vibe. A mix of those movies by the sounds of it. There's a young kind of agent tracking a serial killer. There's obviously plenty of mystery. I love Silence of the Lambs, so this is one that's on my list as well. That I'm so sorry I didn't get to see it, particularly before this episode. But the mystery, when something, I'm assuming this this horror thriller lives on the back of a good mystery as well. And that's what gets people like me into movies that I find more frightening to watch. I'll stay, I want to leave because of the scariness, but I want to stay for the mystery. Is the mystery a good one?
Yes, yeah, it is quite an interesting kind of tale to be told because
Okay.
there's a lot of twists and turns and a lot of strange kind of reveals in the movie,
Really?
kind of thing, which makes it quite um you were kept there by the interest, which is
Okay.
done by another movie also does that on this list, which is it continue the method in which the other movie keeps the interest is different to this one. So this is done by a mystery, a very good plot mystery, but the other one is a method or a format kind of thing.
Well, if we have just a moment before the break to maybe look at the uh, comments, because I can see Brian saying, essentially even better on a second watch, which is a great. I always love hearing that about a movie. You like it one time, but it's even better the second time. That means there's enough in there, and there's enough creativity and shots and things that you'll gain more from, and it'll either build the world or I didn't catch it first time or whatever. So that's awesome. Gavin, how you doing, Gavin? Gavin says long legs is penciled in for tomorrow evening. Good stuff. One of your seven a week. One of your horrors. Um, he says Nick Cage was slightly more effective when not fully on screen. That sounds like a very good horror performance. Um, yeah, like again, more comments about second watch. That's such a stamp of approval for me as well. If this is a rewatchable and you get even more each time, that's a favorite. That's a good movie right there.
Yeah, like it's got very playability, which is fantastic. So I do have to recommend on that case alone. And there is hidden things in it that you get to see on a second watch. So,
Nice.
but yeah, so we're gonna go to a break. We have a few more choices, and we'll be back soon.
See you in a minute.
Yeah. So moving on for the rest of our list, which is we are going to move on to Cobweb, which is
The best trailer I saw this year. I'm just gonna go ahead and say, before you watch the movie, watch the trailer just because I loved the trailer so much that I couldn't wait to see this movie. Now, trailer and movie are two very different things, but there is something nice about already having the creeps in you before you get to see the movie because the trailer was so effective.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it is a good. It's one of those particular trader gets the trader rewards you. I guess is probably a good way to
Yeah.
talk about it. So to give you a plot summary a little bit, which is there is a small child, which is who is hearing knocks in the walls of his home, and his parents are acting very weird about it. So I will say that one of my favorite parts of this movie, is got to be that Anthony Starr is in it, and he definitely plays creepy Homelander dad vibes.
Poor Anthony Starr. That face is now Homelander for anybody who doesn't know who Anthony Starr is. Homelander from The Boys. He has a natural malevolence to him, so perfect fit for dodgy dad in horror movie. Um, Not massively used, but where he was used, used to perfection.
This one. So yeah, it's an interesting, it's an intriguing one that constantly builds. It's not one that I would generally recommend, um, for the ending reason, kind of thing. But it is. I think the build is so intriguing. I think the
Yeah.
twist is what makes the film really good, kind of thing. But yeah, so um, Anthony Starr is very, very good in this film, which is so is Woody Norman, who plays the child.
The kid.
Um,
Oh, fantastic. Like just again, I know we've already bigged up one child actor today, but this dude, he's destined for stardom. Unless this was a fluke, you're looking at somebody who's got a career ahead of them.
yeah, it's been very interesting that lately, which is the child actors that are in a lot of the horror films have been very, very strong, kind of thing. And I do think that it's particular because a lot of them are essentially the leads in a lot of them, or
Yeah.
essentially a very main character. They may be part of the ensemble or something like that. But like I would fathom to say, or like I'd be bold to say that I think horror really brings out the best in some of the, or has the best uh talented star child actors in it.
Well,
Kind of thing.
Haley Joel Osment, Sixth Sense wasn't a bad start one there to pick. Actually, even no, but like Paul Cobweb, I'm so glad. The reason I smiled when Paul was speaking a moment ago, I had a weird smile on my face, Paul. It's because you said some things we have not compared notes.
Yeah.
Um, and you're like, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this based on its ending, etc., etc., etc. Completely get it. I have so many issues with this film, but will recommend it all day long. And my notes are hilarious because I have very enjoyable in capitals. Um, oh God, yeah. It's not a jump scare movie, but it moves to jump scares at one point, which is kind of annoying. So it does that horror thing where it does a build, a build, a build, a build, and then it uses jump scares and kind of shifts gears a little bit. But it's got a kind of a classic horror feel in that respect. But my big thumb up sounds like a gripe. It's every horror trope, as in every horror shot and move is used. Like you're almost ticking off a list of camera moves and
Yeah.
pans and just every shot selection and trick is so it's like a walk down horror movie making lane, memory lane. But I love it. It actually did it all. Even though Lizzie Kaplan, the creepy mother performance, you're like, gosh, that's overstunted. But no, not in this film. It's not. Anthony Starr like looking like, oh well, he's obviously a bit dodgy.
Yeah.
It telegraphs everything, yet you enjoy it. It's like watching a rerun of something that you've already seen before, strangely, but
Yeah.
with new content, and it's so enjoyable for that. This is one that I'd recommend to if Abigail was here and First Omen was here, I'd be like, if you can go one step above Abigail and you want to feel a few different types of horror and classic horror, go for this. It's watchable. You might have the odd squeal and you might be a little bit too scared in places, but it's not hardcore. This isn't Terrifier or something like that.
Yeah, it does have a couple of, like, it does have a couple of I will say, there is jump scares, there's gore warnings, there is a, I will say that out of a lot of these ones that have it, this and Speak No Evil probably are the closest to possibly triggering people,
Mm.
because of the context. But fantastic watches, which is it is, yeah, as you say, there's classic shots, really, really massively done, kind of
Mm.
thing. It is a uh the shots are very kind of like, oh, you could pick that out from this horror movie and
Yeah.
this one, but it's so masterly done that it's quite a nice one,
And
kind of
loads
thing.
of
So
third act muppetry that kind of would let the film down if the film wasn't so charming. Like it's weird to call a horror movie charming, but this one actually weirdly is. And you cannot underestimate the star. I'm going to call him the star, the lead performer, the kid.
yes,
He makes it all so possible.
yeah, no, really does. Um, so yeah, so scare factor, yeah, I'm gonna say yeah, middle range kind of thing, a little bit higher than Abigail. I would agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
So moving on, which is I'm going to move on to one of our slasher movies, which is, or I think the one of the slasher movies, uh, in a violent nature, which is a recommendation from one of our viewers, Brew, in the comments or in the chat right now, recommended it to me. I
Nice
watched
one.
it. It's a great watch. It was very fun. It is so the plot is that campers remove a golden locket from a burnt down fire watch tower, and which awakens a vengeful spirit
Brilliant.
called Johnny, and
MacGuffin slasher.
yes,
Excellent.
and it follows it follows Johnny the killer. It doesn't follow any character, like it doesn't have a lot of character, or it doesn't follow a lot of characters.
Nice.
It majority follows the killer, which is great because it's a definite difference,
Nice.
kind of thing. So instead of kind of getting a lot of character backgrounds and stories and stuff like that, overly, it follows the minority of just Johnny who just murders people. Um,
And do you get Johnny's backstory and
you
motivation from following him around, or is it just we're hanging out with a lunatic here?
you get snippets of pasts and stuff like that. That's the kind of the elements to it is that you get clips and snippets and stuff like that. This would be one of the more violent and gore ones, which is so a
Hmm.
lot of warning there. This is very gory. I'm going to show the start of a scene, but
Okay.
this scene has become particularly famous within the horror fan community.
Well, Brian has just commented. Also, it has one of the most brutal deaths I've ever seen, and with the amount of horror that you and Brian watch, that's quite a statement. So I don't want to know what happens. Obviously, we're not going to say what happens, but now my mind is imagining some of the worst crap ever that I think I probably have to watch this movie just to clear some of that baggage out of my brain.
Yeah, yeah. It's overly. I will
Ugh.
say for horror fans, it's over the top kind of thing. So Saw would be probably a quite well known gore kind of movie,
Yeah.
and body horror kind of movie. This is also along the levels of that, but once again, this gets to a level of kind of ridiculous, the same as Saw does. Um, I think the only reason that it is in any way unsettling a lot more than probably Saw is there's no music to it.
Oh,
There's no music to the film at all.
at all.
No,
Oh crap! Now I have to watch this,
it's
and I
very
know I'm going to be
ambient.
pooping my pants the whole time.
It's ambient sound. The director didn't want to give
Nice.
anything away with the soundtrack in any kind of fashion.
So no piano a la Mike Myers. No. Oh, by the way, First Omen for any choristers out there or anybody who likes singing or chanting music, just listen to First Omen. Just put it on in the background. You will be treated. Whereas this one, if it's just ambient noises, and I can see the buggers coming out of a forest,
Yeah,
so I can imagine there's just lots of footsteps and brushing past things noises. That's as tense as any music can ever be.
yeah. Like it's a lot of shots of forestry and like breaking of twigs and like movements through a forest kind of thing at moments, and
Mm,
just heavy breathing and heavy footsteps. It also has the other part that I really enjoyed about this is that it has a classic horror, like classic slasher look to it.
mm.
They have made a iconic look to the character, which I really
Yeah.
enjoyed. I don't know, Patrick, if you're getting that right now on the live, but it is a weird mask.
Okay. It's not up yet, but I'm familiar.
Yeah.
That's great. So like a locket,
Hmm.
evil spirit. Is there by any chance a summer camp near a lake or anything? Like what other tropes have they managed to brush past with their ASMR slasher as it was described in chat?
Yeah, that would be yeah. There's a lot of horror slasher like tropes. So like you would see a lot of
Nice.
similarities in like Halloween and Friday the 13th and stuff like that. But um because of certain choices like the no music kind of thing and the specific following of the killer,
Mm,
uh, it is a bit of a twist in that fashion. So, this is not for everybody. I will definitely say that. Um,
definitely not.
no.
I'm gonna
Um,
do it for work, as in part of this channel, but part of me is gonna be very annoyed at you after this.
like yeah. So it's a bit of a weird one. I will say some trivia. The mask is one of the most difficult things that they had to use to film because the goggles would fog up all the time. So the actor who had to play Johnny had to remember steps. Like had to remember I have to step here and here. Like he was just
Wow.
like it was like dancing because if he got it wrong, he could end up injuring one of his co-hosts or like cast,
Co-stars. Wow.
yeah, kind of thing a lot. So he remembered a lot, and in the chat they were saying that it's shot over the shoulder a lot. The reason it's shot over the shoulder or behind the killer and stuff like that is so that they could open the mask a little bit, so that the actor was able to do the scenes. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, it is not for everybody. There is gore warning. There is body horror in this one, but the main points that really put it on the list was no music, so it's ASMR kind of like slasher ANSR, and it particularly follows the murderer. You get snapshots of characters, other characters around the place, so it's a very good one in that regard.
So we're rating this one on a for horror fans. Then
Yes, yeah,
that's the rating it gets.
yeah,
Okay.
I would say that this is more for horror fans that are very not body horror, squeamish, kind of thing, and enjoy a twist in the usual format.
Okay. Well, Paul, while we switch to the next one, can I bring up? I forgot during Cobweb to bring up my favorite bit of trivia. I actually had to pause Cobweb and rewind it like 5 times. Do you know why?
Okay.
Did you notice? Did anybody else notice? I wonder while watching it. And you can go and check this out at the end of the credits. Shot on location in Ireland.
Yep.
There's a moment, and I don't know if they CGI'd in the cars or did set dressing. There's one shot up along the most famous river in Dublin. Um, that straight away my brain kind of went, hang on, that's Ireland, that's Dublin. Jesus, that's down the keys. But my brain also was freaking out because this is so sad. I watch movies and I will mentally be going, that's a Mustang, GT, that's a Shelby Cobra, whatever, I'll do that. And we don't have American cars in abundance in Ireland, by the way, but they
Yep.
actually filled in. So if they digitally did it, I want to say the digital artists did a great job, great shadows, great everything. If they actually set dressed from a big long shot in Cobweb, fair play to them for their dedication. Because I saw America on an Irish street that I know. So like they pulled it off. It was bloody impressive. And good on the Irish government for supporting a movie that turned out to be great too. I like it when some of my tax dollars go to the creative arts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is a fantastic kind of it's a very it's a it's an odd kind of reveal, I guess, as
Yeah.
when you find it out. So yeah, so on to our next choice. It is Strange Darling. Strange Darling. Yes. So this is kind of a
Innocuous name.
huh.
An innocuous name.
Yeah, yeah, it is. So this is a strange one. With the name being provided. So, it is the plot summary is that it's essentially a one night stand. Um, it's a one night stand that may have gone awry. kind of thing. Is probably one of the best ways to describe it. This the main character, the lady, which you can already name once they have various things. The lady, which is going to have a one night stand with the co main character in this, and some weirdness ensues. The strangest thing about this film is it is shot out of sequence.
Memento styley or like
Kind of, yeah.
okay.
So it is set in it is shot in a chapter esque format out of sequence, which is what I was talking about. How which is
Mm.
Long Legs keeps you interested by having an interesting mystery. This keeps you in interest because of the chapter orders, kind of thing.
Oh,
The acting is fantastic. There is also a bit of trivia on the end, which I'll give you. But yeah, it's a I wouldn't say it's an overly. It's not an overly kind of it's not a gory kind of one too much. But it's another psychological one. I think this is a very eerie
okay.
one kind of thing. The palace is fantastic. The actors are great in it. But yeah, the most interesting part is just the format in which the chapters are laid out, which builds intrigue as you get, like Memento, you get bits and pieces of information that goes throughout the entire thing. I don't want to say the name of the male lead, because it
Okay.
kind of gives
Okay.
it away. The actor Kyle Garnier is he is very weird in it. Um,
Okay.
it is so the trivia part that I want to say is that there is some controversy about whether this is based on real events or not. So
Okay.
at the start of the movie, it does say that it's based on real events, but at the end of the credits, it does say that everything on it is uh, is fiction. The director will not give a straight answer about whether it is true or not. So it is a very weird kind of like. I think that this is also to build intrigue about the movie,
Oh,
kind of thing.
okay.
Um,
Well, this one was a late addition to the list, so I didn't get a chance to try and see it, but I am intrigued. And Paul, is it like an A24 or a Neon? It has that vibe the way you're describing that somebody has backed somebody's vision here, and that means I'm actually trying to look up who it's Magenta Light Studios. Never heard of them, or have I? But what I can say is I can see Giovanni Ribisi was one of the producers and is in it. And he has some interesting artistic sensibilities as well as being a good actor. I I love things like we're going to play with the order of time. So we're going to mix our chapter orders up. I love that, particularly in something that's the horror thriller genre, because it means you can build and build and build and then drop way back and then fill and then rebuild and do all that. Does it have a lovely rhythm of build up to crash down to build back up again? Has it got a bit of that going on?
yeah, like it's got the each of the chapters have kind of interesting beats and each interesting pacing kind of things to it. That it constantly keeps you unsettled. You can't get into kind of a groove of the movie kind of thing because it suddenly will switch pace as it moves on to another.
Right.
Like so you'll get like a fast paced chapter and then you'll get a slow paced one and a fast. Yeah, like it'll keep you on its toes by kind of because you think you've learned the pattern of them and then it changes it up again, kind of thing. So it's
Right.
nice use of that. It's nice use of kind of playing with the format and chapters and stuff.
I'm into it. I'm sorry I never do this when we're on live, but I'm doing a little bit of looking at the cast list and things like that, and I'm kind of down with this. This one sounds like it could be again, I think you're saying this is good, and I'm assuming this fits the bill of good, even if it wasn't being talked about as a horror.
Yes, yeah, it's got an intrigue kind of thing to it that makes it quite well. It's a nice the formatting, the chapter kind of ness of it, it makes it kind of very interesting to watch.
Mhm.
outside of the subject matter. I guess the subject matter definitely draws you into it a lot more, kind of
Mm.
thing. But I guess the editing is probably one of the best. The editing and definitely the I don't know if it's coming through quite clearly, but the vibrant colors within the movie are
Okay.
particularly a good choice, kind of thing. Of there's always kind of a um there's always a similarity or kind of a mirroring of different colors and stuff within
Mm.
the chapters and stuff, but it's very bright and vibrant. um yeah, it didn't. Yeah, this is the strange thing. It didn't get a long run in the cinema. I saw that Bruce said that in the chat.
Mm.
It didn't get a long run in the cinema. It seems to have like dumped. I think I have a particular understanding that it might be going for an award, so it had to be in the cinema.
Right. So this was aimed at streaming, but limited release to make sure it's eligible for a few things.
Yeah, I have a feeling that it is, and I'm not going to be surprised if it's like I think this is already up for rent on Prime.
And do you know, I don't hate that because that, and we talk about the business on this channel all the time, but just in relation to this, if you're apportioning your budget and you know that you cannot afford the proper marketing to go cinema release to get your money back, but you know you can make an Amazon deal or something like that to have your profit and make your movie work. I'm always happier with somebody saying, "Look, I love cinema and I want to, I'm making a movie for the cinema, but I have to be realistic and I'm not going to make a worse film with less money so that I keep a marketing budget over that'll get me an extra better chance of a few more weeks in the cinema to make my money back." If they reapportioned and if the decision was made to say, look, we're going to make the best film we can and more people will see it on streaming, we've worked out a great deal that we're going to get, a 3 week run to be eligible for, a Fangoria award or whatever it might be.
Yeah, yeah, like I in no way am holding it against essentially
Mm.
any of the creators of this movie. It by I actually weirdly enough, I think that horror movies should have a smaller window in the theater. It's the one change in my view, that it should have a smaller window in the theater and a larger one quicker towards the home, because I think people like there's people like me and like people like you, and I think a lot of horror fans and stuff like that will go to watch the movie in a theater. I
Yeah.
think the wider audience of these films probably don't.
Yeah.
I think there's a kind of
Horror fans are great supporters and they'll get out in those first few weeks. So, yeah, you're right.
that I think if you wanted to expand to a wider audience, I think getting it onto some kind of streaming service fast so that uh casualer viewers can definitely kind of
Yeah.
can see it.
Well, Paul, I just checked. It had a production run of 32 days and it's somewhere between 4 and 10 million. So that's peanuts. That's small movie budget. That is very small movie budget. So I'm extra excited. I love it when people can make their penny stretch a long way and make cool art.
Yeah, like it's very clear about how where the money goes to in certain respects in this movie. Not in a bad way or anything like that, but it definitely makes the creative process a little bit more interesting. Um yeah, I do have a couple of shout outs that aren't on the list,
Okay.
kind of thing. Um uh what is it? Is it what's inside?
Inside that matters or whatever.
Yeah, it's what's inside. Yeah, so it's on
Yeah.
streaming services. It is. I don't think it's a horror movie. It's a very interesting film. It's very intriguing. I really enjoyed it, but I wouldn't count it as a horror movie myself.
No, it's a creative idea. I very rarely will and I'm just looking back from my notes because I watched this one. It's what's inside. It's a mixture between I put down it's a mixture between Clue and vice versa or 18 again. It's a um, body swap brought to its ultimate idea of body swap in a kind of whodunit household sort of thing. It's a bit weird. Um, Everybody is dislikable in it.
Yeah,
And I like that about it. This is so weird. I like a film that sets itself up with a really difficult challenge. And the difficult challenge of this movie is nobody is likable
yeah,
at all. So the thing that can get you through watching it is actually the artistry of the story, the writing, the telling, and again, talk about use of color. Um, just very, very simple, and it's actually explained in front of you in the movie. But a few nice little mechanisms. It's one of those things. And I don't know if this was first time director or first time writer or producer or whatever. This is one of those things where I'd be like, yeah, great first go. I'd like to see what you do next.
Mm.
Um, but like you, I wouldn't necessarily put it under the horror banner. But I think for people who want something that's going to give them some tension
Hmm.
and maybe even some modern kind of drama tension. So this is below Abigail. If you can't stand the idea of ballerina vampire, maybe give this one a go. It's on Netflix. So
Yeah, yeah. Which is, I do want to also point out, Late Night with the Devil was another one that was going to be on my short list, and also,
hey,
I do want to recommend the Terrifiers. I haven't seen Terrifier 3 yet, but the Terrifier films are also exploding. Very
I don't.
gory.
I watch Terrifier, and I don't do it. Don't listen to these horror weirdos. No. All right. I know it's your time and your people here, Paul, but you're all wrong. What the hell is wrong with you all? I watched the first one, and I'm not watching anything after that.
Oh, you should watch the second one. The bedroom scene is absolutely fantastic. I think Bruno knows what I'm talking about.
I'm sure he
Um,
does.
but yeah, so which is, yeah, Late Night with the Devil is an interesting, intriguing kind of one. It's just an interesting story. I'll say that it's not particularly scary to me anyway. So I would say that it's below Abigail, but it's a very well formatted, well good one. Terrifiers, that's way above. That's in a violent nature kind of like, I would say level kind of thing, if you don't want to watch it, kind of thing. And yeah, it's an interesting, it's an interesting, there's an interesting mix out there, and I'm going to continue on with my list. If you're interested in the list, let us know in the socials. Which is, let us know about our list. If there's anything that you feel needs to be on this list, and we could shed it down below. I'd love to have more horror fans be able to get what they need of recommended kind of movies. And also, of course, wishes any of the anyone who's just looking for a Spooktober movie. Had to
I
get it
didn't
in
even
there.
have to prompt him this time. Well done. Thank you, my friend.
So don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell. Anything that you want to add, Patrick?
Nope. These are all great recommendations. And the ones I haven't seen, I'm looking forward to seeing. There is something here for everybody. Seriously, folks, there's one excuse that Spooktober gives you. Spooktober! And that is be like me. Squeeze yourself tight, brave up, watch some of these recommendations because there's some good stuff here. First Omen was maybe where my limit starts kicking in. But Abigail and Cobweb are actually good ones.
Yeah,
Or us weaker of stomach.
yeah. I wanted to give kind of, you could definitely watch this. You'll probably be stretching it, and hero level, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Nice one. It's a great list, Paul. Well done.
So thank you very much. We'll see you next week, which is on Halloween, on Spooktober Day, and we'll talk to you later. I've been Paul.
I've been Patrick.
We've been Here Is Eight. Talk to you next week.
Spooktober, everybody.
Spooktober.